a galvanometer of resistance 70 ohm is converted to an ammeter by shunting with 0.03 resistance, then what is the value of the resistance become? Now they are talking about the entire resistance of a setup. Now this is something like converting a galvanometer to ammeter by connecting a very small resistance in parallel with the galvanometer. By connecting a very small resistance in parallel with this. So RS is the shunting resistance connected across a galvanometer. So the total equivalent resistance is nothing but G into RS divided by G plus RS. G into RS divided by G plus RS equal to 70 into 0.03 divided by 70 plus 0.03. Okay. G is what it is given. The shunting resistance 0.03 is also given, and you have to put everything into the equation to reduce it down. So the R equivalent is equal to 2.1 because it becomes 7 into 0.3, which is 2.1 divided by 70 plus 0.03, which is nothing but 70.03. I can again approximate it to 70 itself. Okay, so 2.1 divided by 70 it is. So 2.1 divided by 70 could be directly calculated as 0.03 ohms. 0.03 ohms it is. That is the equivalent resistance of the entire setup. So this is like converting your galvanometer to ammeter. There are two resistors that are connected in parallel, and I will directly find the equivalent resistance for them. So this is how the things really work. So now we move to the next question, which is a moving coil galvanometer is winded over a metal frame in order to. So why do we wind it over a metal frame? See, first you have to know what the moving coil galvanometer is. We have a a magnet, a north and south pole of a magnet, which are placed like this, and at the center a coil is wound over a circular frame. On that the coil is wound over, and it is connected to an indicator which is placed between the north and the south pole of a magnet in a constant uniform electric field, and when the current is passed through the coil, it experiences a torque and it moves and it indicates the incoming current. Okay, now the question is, why should we wind it over a frame? Why should we wind the coil over a metal frame? Okay, because by doing that we can reduce the electromagnetic induction effect. Okay, by winding it over a frame we can accordingly reduce the induction effect that is caused in the coil. So first, reducing hysteresis, which means they say that to reduce the magnetic behavior of the material. No, that is not the case. To increase the sensitivity. To increase the sensitivity, you have to increase the number of windings. That's a different scenario. Okay, here you don't have to wind it over a metal frame. You have to increase the number of turns to achieve the sensitivity. To increase the moment of inertia. Moment of inertia has got nothing to do in here. Okay, so this is completely out of the question. So to provide the electromagnetic damping is what is the correct answer in this question. By doing that, by winding the coil over a metal plate, it causes a electromagnetic induction effect to damp it down. Okay, that is why we do that. A circular coil of radius 10 centimeter and 100 turns carries a current of 1 ampere, then what is the magnetic moment of the coil? Again, first thing, the magnetic moment of a coil is given by I into A, actually N into I into A. N stands for the number of turn, I is the current in the coil, and A is the area of the coil. So, capital M is equal to, what is I in here? I is 1. What is the area of the coil? Since it's a circle, it becomes pi into r squared. Okay, so 10, right? So 10 into 10 power minus 2 the whole squared, and what is the number of turns in here? 100. So M is equal to pi into 10 into 10 power minus 2 is 10 power minus 1, the whole square is again 10 power minus 2 into 100, where capital M is equal to 3.14. It is 3.14. That is the magnetic moment of this particular coil, and we know that the unit for the magnetic moment is ampere meter squared. So, which brings us to the answer, which is our first option, 3.142. That is the value of the pi. You see, first the formula, then take all the quantities given to you in the question, plug it in, get the answer directly. Easy and straightforward question. You see, here we have a jet plane is traveling west at a speed of 1600 kilometers per hour. The voltage difference developed between the ends of the wing having a span of 20 meter. If the Earth's magnetic field is at the location has a magnitude of 5 into 10 power minus 4 Tesla, and the dip angle is 30 degrees, So now what we have to do is, we have to directly find everything in here. So he is asking us to find the dip angle. It is moving from west to east. So first one, the dip angle, vertical component of the magnetic field, is what we have to take, because the plane is going to fly in this way. Only the magnetic field that is perpendicular to its area is going to produce the necessary voltage that we are getting. Okay, so I will only take the vertical component of the magnetic field, which is B sin theta. So with this I will start doing everything. Okay, we are required to find B first, since we are already aware of what theta is. How to find B? Okay, E is equal to BLV. E is equal to BLV is the formula, since it is moving with some particular velocity. Okay, so now what is the length? What is the length? It is 20 meters. 20 meters, and it is going to fly with a speed of 1600 kilometer per hour. So 1600 kilometer per hour should be converted to meter per seconds. Okay, and the magnetic field is nothing but 5 into 10 power minus 4 T. Okay, into 10 power minus 4. So we have everything with us. All we have to do is, we have to just plug in and we have to get the answer. Okay, so to find E in the first place, what I will do is, I will do all the calculations that is necessary. So if I do all these calculation, what I am getting is 3.125 volt. 3.125 volt is what I am getting, right? So with this I can say that we are close to our option C. We are much closer to our option C, and that is our answer. And that is our answer. So, in case if you want to find the vertical component of magnetic field, you can just do this. BV is equal to, the total magnetic field is 5 into 10 power minus 4 into 1 by 2. Okay. If you do this, you will get to find the vertical component of the magnetic field straight away. See, again nothing has went much. I took the equation that is necessary for us to find the V value over the wingspan, and I have plugged in all the values that are necessary, and I did the calculation to get my value inside. So, this is how the things work in here. Now, the next question goes like, an electric dipole with a dipole moment of 2 into 10 power minus 9 centimeter is aligned at an angle of 30 degree with then direction of 4 into 10 power 4 Newton per Coulomb within the direction of the electric field is how it is aligned. So, now what you are supposed to find is, you are supposed to find the magnitude of the torque acting on the dipole. So, now the dipole is actually aligned to an angle of 30 degree from the electric field. So, now listen. So, this is how your electric field is, and let us assume that our dipole is aligned in this fashion with 30 degree with the electric field. So, already we are aware of the dipole moment, which is 2 into 10 power minus 9, and what you are supposed to find is the magnitude of the torque, okay, where tau is equal to P into E sin theta it should be. This is the formula, tau is equal to P E sin theta. Already the dipole moment is given to us, and the electric field is also given to us with the angle. All we have to just do is, you have to plug in everything and see what we get. Okay. So, now tau is equal to 2 into 10 power minus 9 into the electric field is 4 into 10 power plus 4 into the sin 30 is nothing but 1 by 2. So, now all we have to do is, you have to just cancel this 2, where tau is equal to 4 into 10 power minus 5 Newton meters. See how easy this problem is. There is much, you don't have to do much about this problem. All you have to do is, you have to figure out the correct formula, and you have to extract the data from the question, and you have to just plug it in, and you have to choose your answer. Your option D is your answer. Option D is your answer. So, this is how the things really work in here. Okay, just stick to the basics. Formula first, data extracted from the question is what you have to do next, and you have to plug all the data into the formula that you have figured out. Yes. Here listen, if both the number of turns and the core length of an inductor is doubled by keeping the factor constant, then its self-inductance value is. So, now they are asking us to find the value of the self-inductance by doubling the number of turns. So, what will we get? So, what will we get by doubling the number of turns? Okay, you see, self-inductance is again a constant one. Okay, for any inductor coil, it is the constant. You see, the self-inductance L is equal to N times phi it is. Okay, self-inductance L is equal to N times phi it is. So, in this note, what they are going to do is, they are going to double the value of the number of turns. Okay, if they are going to double the value of the number of turns, the self-inductance of the coil will also increase. Okay, because the length is not going to affect much. Even the length, if the length increases, the number of turns per unit length will also obviously increase, right? So, here they are very specific. If both the number of turns and the core length of the inductor is doubled. Okay, so core length, if you are going to increase the length of solenoid, it is not going to affect much, but if you are going to increase the number of turns, that will definitely increase the self inductance value by double. So this is how the things really go in here. Here the assertion goes like this: the magnetic needle is free to rotate in a vertical plane, orients itself vertical to the pole of the earth. Yes, at poles your theta is equal to 90 degree. That is well and good. Where the horizontal component of the earth's magnetic field is B cos theta and the vertical component of the magnetic field is B sin theta. So what does our reasoning say? At the pole of the earth, the horizontal component of earth's magnetic field will be 0, of course, yes. So it is very straightforward that both the statements are correct. At the same time, this explains that. Okay, because the horizontal component of the magnetic field goes 0, it proves that your theta is 90 degree. So option A is your answer. See, it's very easy and it's a straightforward question. You don't have to do much about that to prove it. So this particular question goes as: the following figure show the arrangement of the bar magnets in different configurations. Each magnet has magnetic dipole moment of small m bar. Which configuration has the highest net magnetic dipole moment? Okay, so there are 4 configurations given to us. So depending on this, we have to say which configuration has got the highest magnetic moment. So first of all, just to recall, let me say the magnetic moment is given by capital M bar is equal to M into small l bar, where small l in here stands for the pole strength and L stands for the effective length of the bar magnet and capital M stands for the magnetic moment. But in here the small m is used to represent the magnetic moment, so no worries. Okay, all we have to do is we have to find which of the configuration among these 4 is going to give you the maximum magnetic moment. Okay, so if you people are aware, the magnetic moment's direction will always be from the south to north. Okay, this will be the direction of the magnetic moment. Magnetic moment will always point from south to north, just remember. So let me draw the magnetic moments, the individual magnetic moments for each and every configuration PC, like this. So these are the individual magnetic moments, and if you could see, all are vector quantities and each vector are pointing in a different directions. So what you are supposed to do is, in order to find the net magnetic dipole moment, you have to take the resultant for the individual configurations. Okay, now let me call this to be M and let me call this to be M. The angle between them is 90 degree. So the formula for this is root of m1 square plus m2 square plus 2 m1 m2 cos theta is the formula for the net magnetic moment. Since m1 is equal to m2, what happens in here is the angle between them is also 90 degree. So the third term completely goes 0 because cos 90 is 0. All we are left with is root 2 times m. All we are left with is root 2 times m. Now for the second configuration, you see both the magnetic moments are anti-parallel. So the angle between them is 180 degree. So cos 180 is negative 1. So the whole thing goes 0. So the magnetic moment for the second configuration is completely 0. And for the third configuration, you see for the third configuration, it is 30 degree. So m square, I mean 2m square plus 2m square root 3 by 2 it is. So 2 and 2 will go down. What we are left with is m into root of 2 plus root 3. This is what we are left with. Okay, so what I can say is the value for root 3 is 1.7. So 1.7 plus 2 is 3.7. So the whole root, the value of the whole thing is close to root 3.7. Okay, keep that in mind. Now let me test the fourth configuration, where in the fourth configuration we have 60 degree in here. If you put 60 in here, cos 60 is 1 by 2. 1 by 2 and 1 by 2 goes off. It becomes root 3 times m. See, first one is root 2m, second one is 0, third one is 3.7 inside a root times m. Here it is root 3m. So which one is the greater one? The option 3 is your correct answer. That's all. So this is how you do it. All you have to do is individually try to find the net magnetic moment and choose the greater one. You don't have to do much about this. Okay, the only thing that you have to remember in this particular case is your magnetic moment will always point from south to north. Okay, that is the first thing that you have to remember. And what happens if the angle between them is plugged in? That too you have to keep it in your mind. Okay. So now we move to the next one. A bar magnet of magnetic moment m bar is placed in a magnetic field of induction B bar. Then what is the torque exerted on it? Okay, so as I have already said that magnetic field is an inverse squared force, so is your electric field. Okay, so whatever we have derived in the electric field could also be used again in the magnetic field. So the expression for the torque in the electric field is P bar cross E bar, where P bar stands for the electric dipole moment and E stands for the electric field. We will always be using the same thing again in the magnetic field. So in the magnetic field, tau will be written as, instead of electric dipole moment, I will be writing magnetic dipole moment. Instead of electric field, I will just write the magnetic field. So tau bar is equal to m bar cross B bar it is. Easy and straightforward. It's easy and straightforward. Okay, but m bar cross B bar, you see option A is correct. Okay, so immediately after seeing that you should not mark it. You have to stand back and watch, because we have another option which says both A and B are correct. So now what I have to do is I have to check the option B. In the option B, you see we have B bar cross M bar along with a negative sign. So if I am going to swap the terms between them, if I am going to take M to first and B to the second one, okay, I will again get a negative sign. We already have a negative sign itself in the option which makes it positive. So there is two correct answers in here. Both A and B are correct. So option D should be your answer, which says both A and D are correct. So this is one of the very important concept in this particular chapter. Okay. So now we move to the second one. Here a bar magnet of magnetic moment capital M is cut into two parts of equal length. Okay. The magnetic moment of each part will be. So now what you are going to do is you are going to cut a bar magnet, and how do you think you are cutting? You are going to cut it into two pieces of equal length. You are just going to cut it into two pieces, but both the pieces are of equal length. Okay. In order to recall the concept, let's see. Consider this to be a bar magnet with north and south pole, where the magnetic moment of a bar magnet is given as m times L bar, as I have already said, where m stands for the pole strength and L stands for the effective length. There are two ways in which you can cut a bar magnet. One is by cutting it like this about its own axis. Otherwise, you can cut it perpendicularly like this. Either way, you will be getting the same one. Reason, when you cut it along its own axis, the magnetic moment is equal to small m by 2 into L bar. You see, the pole strength becomes half. when you cut it horizontally, the pole strength becomes half. But when you cut it vertically, what happens? M bar is equal to M into L bar by 2. Your length becomes half. Anyway, your magnetic moment is going to be halved. Right. So capital M is the existing magnetic moment. So by cutting it into equal lengths, then for each part your magnetic moment reduces by half. For each part your magnetic moment reduces by half. So that is what we will get. And now we move to the next one. It's a theoretical question. The magnetic susceptibility is negative for. So here we have a ferromagnetic material, a paramagnetic material and a diamagnetic material. So the question is, which among these three materials will have the negative susceptibility? Okay, so now listen. Chi is the symbol that is used to represent the magnetic susceptibility. You see, when a magnetic material is placed in a external magnetic field, the domains inside them, not the domains, the dipole moments inside the magnets will get aligned accordingly. Okay, for example, in the case of paramagnetic material, all the magnetic moments inside the material gets aligned in the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, whereas in the ferromagnetic material also, the magnetic moments inside the material get aligned in the direction of the external magnetic field. Okay, in the paramagnetic material, the magnetization will be not so strong, but you will have a magnetization. But in the ferromagnetic material, you will have a strong magnetization. Okay, when an external magnetic field is applied, the material will be very strongly magnetized. Whereas in the diamagnetic material, as a contradiction of the other two material, the magnetic moments present inside those material gets aligned in the opposite direction of the applied external magnetic field. So because of that, your chi will have a value less than 0. Your chi will have a value which is less than 0, which in turn means that your diamagnetic material will take the negative values. Okay, so the susceptibility will be negative for the diamagnetic materials. So this is what we get to understand from this particular problem. So now the next one. A bar magnet of magnetic moment capital M is placed at right angle to a magnetic induction B. If a force F is experienced by each pole of the magnet, then what is the length of the magnet will be? So you see, whenever a magnet is being placed in an external magnetic field, we already know that it is going to experience a torque, right? So now what they are actually asking us to find is, F is the force experienced by each poles of the magnet, and capital M is the magnetic moment of the magnet, and B is the external magnetic field. In that case, how will you express L is what the question is. So if you just have a look at the option, there is one thing we know for sure. You see, definitely the dimension of this and this are not the same. Okay, likewise the dimension of this and this are not the same. You see, all the four options have their own dimensions. That is weird, right? All the four options have their own dimensions. In case if you face such a problem in your examination and you are unaware of how to start the problem, there is one simple trick that will help you to answer it without even calculating this. That is finding the dimension. Please try to find the dimension of all the four options and the option with the dimension length. The option with a dimension of length is your answer, because I am very sure that all the four options doesn't have the same dimensions. So definitely this technique will give you the answer. Okay, I just leave it to you to try it in your home. Right now I will be doing it straight. See, whenever a bar magnet is placed in a magnetic field, it will experience a torque and it will try to rotate. You see, the torque experienced by the bar magnet is given by tau is equal to m bar cross b bar. Since it is placed exactly perpendicular, sin theta is 1. So, tau is equal to m into b. And what they have said is capital F is the force experienced by the poles. So, the torque on the left side can be rewritten as force times the distance between them. Force times the distance between them. What is the distance between the two poles? It is F times L is equal to m into b, where L is equal to m into b by F it is. M into b by F it is. So, option 1 is your correct answer. So, immediately if you try to do the dimension from your first option, you will immediately get the answer. See, L is equal to mb by F it is. It's a very easy one. It's a straightforward question. So, with this note, we will end this session. We will again meet in the next session with a new chapter. Thank you.